Hello team, today's challenge is Zodiac Finder, where we're given a date as a string and we need to return what the zodiac sign is for that. This has a couple interesting solutions. I'm going to do one that's fairly standard, and then I'm going to follow it up with something interesting that I found when I was doing a little bit of research, because sometimes you need to do research. So I'm going to start out by grabbing all of this right here, copying it. We're going to bring it over. We're going to set up our data. If I can get to the top of that thing, that's going to be const signs, not sings, but signs equals an array. Okay. Pasting it all in, jumping up and bringing it over. Excellent. Okay. Now we can use some multi-cursor. So if I grab just these first two characters, it's strange that this is a tab to me, but we can fix that in a second. I should be able to get some multiple cursors going on just like this, and we can jump around. Okay. So right here, I'm going to add a comma and a space and call this sign. Okay. We're setting up an object here, so don't forget that colon. We can jump to the end like this, and then we can jump to the beginning. Now, all of this, today we don't need it. I suspect that if you were doing this in professional work, you would probably want access to this information somehow. So you would want start month, end month, start date, end date. But here we only care about the end date today. Okay. So I'm going to actually delete all this and just put end date. Okay. Wrapping that up, we're going to wrap it in some brackets to make it an object. And of course a comma to make sure that it's actually valid code. Okay. The last step that we need here is these three bottom lines here. We need to take them and move them to the top. Okay. And the reason that we need to move them to the top is because Capricorn is the one that spans years. So it goes from December to January. And we want that to be first, so that January is the first, February, March, onward and upward. Okay. And then we're going to find a creative way to jump backwards to get December 22nd. Okay. You'll see that in a second. But we do want this one to be first because January is the first month. Okay. And there it is. There's our data for this. So we can actually start using that down here. Now, we're going to get the information off of this date string. We don't need to send it through the date interface or anything like that. In the second example, we will. But for here, we just need to split it. Okay. So date string dot split, just like this, not like that. I want to split on the dashes, and that gives us year, month, and day. Okay. Day, just like this, type it right. Now, we don't care about year, so we can actually get rid of this, leaving that comma. Okay. When we are destructuring, if we leave the comma, then it will say ignore that first argument. Okay. It tells the system to ignore that. We just get month and day, and we are off to the races. The reason that you want to do this, okay, just in case you're wondering why I didn't leave year there, you notice how month and day are grayed out? That's because they haven't been used yet. And if you get into things like TypeScript, it will actually start complaining that you have unused variables. Okay, it's a bad practice to leave unused variables in there. You delete them. That's what we're doing here. We're just getting rid of it. We don't need it. Okay. The month. Okay, so we have month index just like this. And that is going to be equal to the month minus 1, because remember our array is 0 indexed. And in fact, if you're using the date operator, the months are also 0 indexed. So kind of interesting bit there. But for today, we need to back this month out by 1. Now it is a string, so we do month just like this, subtract 1. Excellent. What if we are past the date? We need to skip into the next month. Okay. So maybe we're in the second half of January, which is actually Aquarius, right? We need to figure that out. That's what we're doing next. Let's take a look. So if that day, right, and again, that day is a string. Okay. If the string is if the day is greater than this day, then we need to add 1 to our month. Okay. And this is where we need to figure out this little bit here to go back in history, but we can do that. Okay. So signs dot, no, not dot, it's square brackets. We need that month index, okay? And then we go dot end date. So if this is true, okay, then we need to reset month index. We need to change it. It's going to be month index +1, which is going the other way, right? We don't need to do that plus symbol because we already did that. So month index is a number. But we do need to figure out how to get to the start. And we do that by wrapping this all up, just like this, and go modulo 12. This one here, okay, think about it for a second. Month index, let's say month index is 0 because it was January, we subtracted 1 to give us that 0. Then we go 0 plus 1, right, which is 1 modulo 12, which is 1, right? The remainder of 1 modulo 12 is 1. The remainder of, say, 5, right? If we go 4 plus 1, 5, 5 modulo 12 is 5. And so on, etc., until you get to the 11th entry, or to the 12th entry, which is index 11. So 11 plus 1 is 12. Modulo 12 is 0, right? And that's how this magic works. So so long as it is the last entry, it will cycle back to the first entry. And that's what that math is doing there, okay? Very helpful math. I could see it being used in lots of different places where you need to do kind of tricky indexing like this. But at this point, we have it. We can go and grab all of this, paste it down here, and go sign just like this, and we should be able to do it, okay? So there's our first entry. We sorted out our data. There are times where you will see these two items separated, right? They will be in two separate arrays, right? Very, very common. I like to put it all together because chances are there is going to be more information here. Again, I deleted a lot of information because we don't need it for this example. But if you're actually doing this, you're going to have that somewhere. Okay, so good data habits. We only care for today about end date and sign, but we could have done it a different way. Okay, there could be a lot more in here, and that's okay. So having it all in one place makes it easy to maintain and update. Now, the next example is very interesting to me. Okay, and I try to avoid stuff that's clever, but this one's really fun, and I like it a lot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to comment this out. I'm going to paste it down, and we're going to delete everything that is inside of here except for that return statement, which we're going to come back to in a second, okay? We're still going to access sign. We aren't going to update our data, except this here. Remember that Aries was the first item? Well, we're going to make it the first item again. So we are going to reset this to the same order that is over here. And here's why. Something that I just found out today while doing a little bit of research in here is that this calendar, these dates line up almost exactly, or the internet says perfectly. I would test that. But I'm going to go with almost exactly line up with the Persian calendar. Okay. We, as people in the West, we use the Gregorian calendar. Before that, we use the Julian calendar. There's the Inca calendar and the Chinese calendar and the Japanese calendar, okay? Today, we're going to use the Persian calendar. And the Persian calendar, their new year starts here. And their first month is here, second month. It lines up. Again, the internet says it lines up perfectly. I would have more tests than just the handful down here, okay? To make sure that I cover off these edge cases and I don't have one-off errors. But for today, it works. So we're going to look at that, okay? Getting to that Persian calendar is a little bit of a trick. So we have reset the data so that Aries is first and Pisces is last. Down here, we are going to use the Intl.DateTimeFormat, okay? So just like this, we're going to go Persian month, okay? Because we only care about the month. We're going to get that, and that's going to be INTL, capital D, date, time, format, okay? This takes a couple items. It takes your locale. So for now, I'm going to put EN. We're going to come back to the second, and our options. What are our options? Well, we only care about the month, okay? And we need it to be numeric. That's very important, right? If it's not numeric, then how do we get our index, okay? Now, accessing the Persian calendar starts here. It's part of the locale, which is kind of weird to me, but it's standardized. It's a very standardized thing. All we do is right behind our locale, and that can be, what is it, underscore UK? I always forget this part. Or is it a dash, right? Or underscore CA or whatever, right? You can have extra bits in there. But then after all that, you put a dash, a U, and another dash. This tells it that you're about to pass in a Unicode item, okay? You're asking for other information. And that information is a CA for calendar, okay? And then after that, what kind of calendar? Well, Persian, okay? So we have our locale, that's this bit here, and then we tack on these extra bits to get to the calendar, which is Persian. And once we do that, it will line up with this, which is pretty awesome, right? There's a lot of cleverness in knowing that the Persian calendar lines up with that. I wouldn't have known that without a little bit of research, but here we are, right? So after that, we can absolutely get the, the month, okay? Now, whatever month comes out of here is no longer 0 indexed, right? So it will return 1 for January, or I forget the first month of the Persian calendar, but it will return a numeric 1 for that, and we need it to be 0. So once we do this, we need to remember to subtract 1, but it looks like this. We have that Persian month, okay, dot format. And what are we formatting? Well, it's a new date, which is date string. And we can just pass that in because our date strings are thankfully ISO 8601 compliant, right? So being very handy there, keeping it in an international format, right? But this would also work if you're working in more like the American date formats or something more specialized, okay? Unless it's too unique, and then you need more. But for today, this works, okay? We subtract 1 from there, and we are done, okay? Now we can use this right here. We go month, and it works, okay? So here we are. Like it's 2 solutions. The first one is one that I would expect from most people, right? Where we're doing a little bit of manipulation on the date string. Maybe you do convert that to a date, an actual date object, right? There's no harm or foul to that. It is extra work, so there is a performance hit, which is probably why this is going to be way faster than this, because we're going through the INTL interface and the date interface, jumping through some hoops, but here it is, right? We were able to split off and use that information directly and then get the information that we need, which is really, really nice. We altered the data a little bit just to make sure that we were in line with the Persian calendar, okay? And then we did, in fact, use the Persian calendar to get our month, right? Our month -1, because we needed that index. And then same sort of thing where we just reached into our data and pulled that out, right? And in fact, in this one, I could have cleaned up end date. I left it in there because, again, it doesn't matter. You're probably going to have an object that has a lot of information. So long as it has the information you need, that's okay, right? If this is coming from a database or something, not a problem. That was a bit of a long one, but pretty cool, right? I really like this one. And I think this one down here with the Persian calendar, it's too clever for me, but I like knowing that it's there. So very interesting stuff. Did you find another one? Did you find this Persian calendar to be interesting, right? Hit me up in those comments. I want to hear all about it. Otherwise, this is it for today, and I'll see you tomorrow.